Good morning, and welcome to Hang and Vibe, my name that I chose for this podcast. And I've also chosen a theme for the podcast. It's going to be about music that I like, because I enjoyed talking about the music last time. So after I sort of talk about my week, I'm going to talk about some songs that I enjoyed this week and discovered and would like to recommend. So this week was pretty similar to last week. Went to church on Sunday. This was a special Sunday though, because in the morning we received, I think, 6 new members or so. And in the evening we sort of dedicated our new building. We got a new building at the beginning of the year, and we had a dedication service on Sunday evening. But in the morning, Jonathan preached on 1 Samuel chapters 26 and 27, which were about David. First scene was David given the opportunity to kill Saul with his own spear, but instead of killing him, he took his spear and showed him the next day to prove, I had the chance to kill you, but I didn't. And it kind of humbled Saul, and he was like, oh, come join me and be my son and everything. And David's like, no, I can't trust you anymore. I know all you really want is your spear back, so take your spear and I'm going to leave. So David actually goes to the Philistines. This is the second time he went to the Philistines. And I think he supposedly learned his lesson the first time, because the Philistines are not God's chosen people, but David is just like us, and even when he learns a lesson, he forgets again and makes the same mistakes as before. So he went back to the Philistines, and he tried to kind of make things work out, because while he was there, he was still fighting against Israel's enemies, and he was lying to the king of the Philistines named Achish, telling him that, oh, I'm actually going out and fighting your enemies, which is Israel. And Achish believed him, and it was all going well up until Achish was like, you're such a good fighter, I'm actually going to have you go out to war with me, and we're going to fight together. And David's like, all right, you bet. And then the chapter after that just kind of switches the story to a different narrative, and it's kind of a cliffhanger, which I think is really interesting. You don't really think about there being cliffhangers in the Bible, but that's one where it's David, the chosen rightful king of Israel, is like, now I'm gonna fight for the bad guys. It's like, what? Hold on, let's go back and finish that story. But I mean, obviously, you know the rest of the story. He does end up becoming king of Israel and all that. But yeah, it was just an interesting, to think about. David was just like us. He made a lot of mistakes and repeated sins and everything. Obviously, the takeaway that Jonathan preached was that Jesus is like us, but without sin. So he is the rightful king, because he does not sin in the first place, and therefore obviously does not repeat any sins. So yeah, after the morning service, I didn't go for a walk with my parents like I usually do, because I think it was raining on Sunday. But in the evening, I went back to church for the dedication service. We had a bunch of guests. We had the actual pastor of the church that previously owned the building. I didn't write his name down. It might be Bill something. Bill. Oh, I don't know. I should have written that down. but he's the pastor of Grace Harbor. He kind of gave a little testimony of the process that took place when they decided to switch buildings, and also prayed for us. And then the preacher who spoke the sermon was Dale Van Dyke, who's the pastor of Harvest Church, I believe, and is also kind of a mentor to Jonathan. So he preached a sermon on Exodus chapter 15, verse 11, which is part of a song that Israel sang after being delivered by God from Egypt through the Red Sea. And verse 11 talks about God being a God of wonders and miracles. And yeah, Dale compared that to, how we should see God, because we've seen him do a great work in the life of our church, and how God uses wonders to teach us about himself. Like in this instance, he's teaching us about his generosity, and how we should follow suit and also be generous, because we have such a generous God, and how we should also be expectant when we pray, and be faithful to steward the gifts that he gives us. So that was a really good word about our new building. And so after the evening service, I actually talked to an old friend, Caleb. It's not that much of an old friend. I mean, it's only been like a year since last time we talked. But still, you don't talk to someone for a year. You have a lot to catch up on. So Caleb actually used to go to my church, but he and his family moved to up north somewhere. I can't remember the name of the city they moved to, but yeah, we just talked and caught up, and it was really nice to just catch up with an old friend, and hopefully we'll get to hang out sometime. Yeah, that was Sunday. Monday was a pretty ordinary day. I worked out with Joe after work, and went grocery shopping and all that good stuff. Tuesday, I took my grandma's trash out, went home and mowed my lawn. Then I uploaded the sermons, my church's sermons, to Sermon Audio. That's one of the responsibilities I have at the church. Speaking of responsibilities, I forgot to mention, on Sunday I operated the live stream. So those are two of the sort of... the live stream is a rotating thing, so I don't do it every Sunday. But we have a team of people that rotates and operates the live stream, and I did it this Sunday. But every week I am responsible for uploading the sermons to Sermon Audio, and I actually forgot to do it last week, but I made up for it this week and uploaded all of the sermons at once. And yeah, did that on Tuesday. Wednesday I worked out with Joe, and that night I actually sat outside in my backyard around a fire, and it was really nice. The weather was beautiful, and it took a minute to get the fire going, but I eventually did, and enjoyed sitting there listening to music with Pilgrim and Brew. Haley came out after a little bit, and we both just sat there and enjoyed the fire, and got a little bit up by mosquitoes, but I always forget about that when I go outside at night. For some reason, I never learn. Like, I always forget there's mosquitoes. But next time, I'll be sure to put on some bug spray. And on Thursday, since Haley and I are, doing our sort of weekly movie nights in preparation for Halloween Horror Nights, one of the houses is called Monstruos. I definitely didn't pronounce that right, but it's Latin American monsters. And one of them, there's like 3 monsters in it, and I can't pronounce all their names, but one of the monsters is called El Silbón, which again I definitely mispronounced, but that translates to the Whistler. and we watched a movie called The Whistler, which was about that monster, and it was kind of slow, really slow paced. The whole movie was in Spanish, which was cool, and it had English subtitles. But yeah, it just made it more, immersive because, it's I just got pooped on literally right now by a bird. My car. I didn't get pooped on, but sheesh. Anyways, yeah, the movie was in Spanish, and that made it more immersive. But it was kind of slow, but it was interesting. I mean, there were some cool parts with especially with the monster and showing him like attacking people and stuff. And the actor that portrayed him looked acted really creepy, like the way he was hunched over and kind of, I don't know, like the way he walked and the way he flapped his arm, because he's a human, but he was cursed as a child, so that he's I don't know, just there's something wrong with him. But he always acted like a bird. He would whistle at the birds, and he would perch in trees and kind of just wave his arms around and stuff. And his dad was abusive, and so as he got older, his dad would chain him up outside and only unlock his chains when he wanted him to go do chores and stuff. And eventually the boy retaliated against his father and killed him, and then the dad's dogs ended up killing the boy, but because he was cursed, he was immortal, so he lived on to basically attack men and women who were basically evil in the future. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting movie, and I'm interested to see how the house... Obviously, the house is not based on that movie, but it's based on the legend, among other Latin American folklore monsters. So that was Thursday. Friday, there was a young adult hangout at the Cruises at Jonathan and Carrie Ann's house. It was a pretty good turnout. There were lots of young adults there. My friends Cliff and Bree were there. They've been out in California at Westminster Seminary, because Cliff is basically going to school to become a minister. But they are here for the summer. He's doing an internship with Harvest Church in Grand Rapids, and he's also going to be interning at Community later in the summer. But they came to the young adult night to just sort of reunite with everybody and catch up. So I hung out with them and their baby Amaya. Yeah, it was fun. We played some trivia and enjoyed that. But yeah, when we came home, my sister and I found out that there had been a storm earlier that day, and a tree had fallen over in my backyard. It didn't fall in the yard, it fell on the other side of the fence where there's a road, an alleyway. So it was blocking the road, and we told our parents, and so our mom and dad came over and helped us chop up the tree a bit and get it kind of out of the road at least. So that was good. Saturday morning, my dad came over and we painted my stairs, the front stairs outside my house. And I'm not really crazy about the colors that I chose. I can only blame myself because I chose them. But it's so hard to pick colors when you only have a little tiny swatch to look at, and then when you actually see it blown up, on the surface that you painted, it just doesn't seem to look the same. Plus, I didn't take into account the color of my siding, which my house has the worst color. It's a mint green, and I just don't feel like that color goes well with anything. So I painted the stairs kind of a sandy color, and the wooden railings I painted like a rusty red, which those two colors would look good together, but up against the mint green background, it looks like the stairs are part of a different house. Like we took somebody else's stairs and plonked them onto my house. But we only did one coat. We have to do a second coat, and I might just end up picking a different color for the second coat. I don't know yet. I posted it online, and some people said it looks okay. Some people recommended different colors. I'll just have to decide that later in the week. And after that, it was a normal Saturday. Haley and I went to our parents' house, and we watched some Universal Studios YouTube videos. So that was last night. Now, let's get into some music. I picked 5 artists that I want to spotlight. And then I picked a few other songs that I want to just kind of recommend on top of them. And I don't know if this is what I'm going to stick with, but it's what I'm going to try out and see if it works. So the 5 artists that I chose, 4 of them are actually artists that I recommended last week. But I did some deeper digging into them to just become more familiar with them because they were new artists to me. The first one is Liz Cooper and the Stampede. I had mentioned last week that I wasn't sure if they were 2 separate artists or like one, but I found out that they were one artist. Liz Cooper and the Stampede was the band, but in 2021, Liz Cooper separated from the band and went solo. In 2019, Liz Cooper was actually featured on a song with the band Okie Dokie called Modern Chemistry, which I thought was really cool. I like Okie Dokie. I've only listened to really one of their songs, which was Gave My Love Away, Threw My Love Away. Oh my gosh, I should have probably written this down beforehand. See, I'm not really good at preparing ahead of time for these podcasts, but I liked the song Modern Chemistry. You should check that out. Like I said, in 2021, Liz Cooper went solo, and she released an album called Hot Sass. It's definitely different. It's a different sound from when she was with the Stampede. But a couple songs were pretty good. I like Slice of Life, which is, I think, the opening track. And, the song Getting Closer is also really good. And it reminds me a bit of The Arcs. Just kind of has that sound. Sounds like The Arcs. The rest of the songs I didn't get super into, but they weren't bad, just didn't stand out to me. So, yeah, I would check out Getting Closer and Slice of Life and Modern Chemistry with Okie Dokie. Those are all pretty good. The second band I'm going to spotlight is Low Tom. They have 2 albums out. The first one I talked about last week. And in 2020, they released a second album, which is definitely different from the first album. It's got more of like a classic rock or like a hard rock sound. I've listened to it, but I don't know if I'll re-listen to it, except for one song, The Show. I did find that song pretty good, so I'll probably listen to that one more times. But what's really interesting about this band is the rabbit hole I went down when I started looking up the band members. They're all musicians that have been working together for years, and Low Tom is like a side project for the four of them. They are David. Oh, I should have looked up how to pronounce these. David Bazan, Trey Meny, T.W. Walsh, and Jason Martin. Two of them were previously in a band, or currently in a band, called Pedro the Lion. And the other two are in a band called Starflyer 59. I had not heard of these bands before, but when I looked them up, I found out that Starflyer 59 was actually involved in Tooth and Nail Records, which is a record label that I listened to back when I was in middle school, because they're like a Christian label. And so that would imply that, this Starflyer 59 was a Christian band. Pedro the Lion actually also had a stint with Tooth and Nail in 1997. So yeah, that just kind of surprised me that this band is made up of members that were all involved in Tooth and Nail back in the day. But yeah, and they also have worked on other projects together, and there's actually a playlist. If you look up Low Tom on Spotify, there's a playlist that one of the band members created called the Low Tom Family Tree, and it's got all the other projects that they've worked together on. But one of the artists you can look up on Wikipedia is T.W. Walsh, and I just was surprised at how many other artists he has been involved with, doing production and music and stuff with. He's been involved with Sufjan Stevens, Nathaniel Rateliff, Damien Jurado, Cold War Kids, The Shins, and apparently thousands of others. So this guy is definitely a prolific artist, T.W. Walsh. Speaking of T.W. Walsh, I discovered another artist through looking up his music. He did a remix of a song by Chris Staples. It's not Chris Stapleton, because I don't know that I would really like Chris Stapleton, but Chris Staples is an indie rock artist, and he did a song called Out of My Body in 2022, which the original is great, and it kind of has like a Mac DeMarco kind of vibe to it. Just sounds pretty chill, and just a nice chill listen. But the remix by T.W. Walsh is also really cool, kind of electronic-y, and just a really kind of a darker sound. It's actually called the dystopian version, which it does kind of sound like a bit of a darker version of that song. And the album cover is really cool too. But yeah, that's Chris Staples and T.W. Walsh. I listened to, I'm spotlighting Chris Staples now for my third artist. I listened to some of his other albums. He released an album in 2016 called Golden Age, which is a beautiful album. There were a lot of songs on it that I just were nice to just sort of relax to and chill out to. Two songs in particular I want to spotlight were Missionary and Vacation. They both just had kind of like a sort of hypnotic vibe to them. Missionary has some banjo in it that I really like, and even a little bit of saxophone. Back at the apartment. But yeah, just check out Missionary, because it's so hypnotic sounding. And Vacation, the vocals have this really tremendous reverb on them that kind of almost sounds like you're in outer space or something. But yeah, that just kind of lends to the sort of I don't want to say psychedelic, because I feel like psychedelic already has kind of musical connotations that I wouldn't call these songs psychedelic. but I feel like Hypnotic is a decent comparison. They also sort of reminded me of Here We Go Magic, because Here We Go Magic kind of has that sort of a little bit like repetitive, but not in a bad way, just kind of like I guess repetitive is the only word I can think of, but it's like just the style of music that it's like kind of hypnotic sounding. Yeah, a couple other songs or albums by Chris Staples. I almost said Chris Stapleton. Chris Staples. I like his song "Horse and Saddle" from the album Holy Moly, which he released in 2019. And then the most recent album, Cloud Souvenirs, from 2023, is also really good. I didn't write down any specific songs from it. I just said Cloud Souvenirs, pretty good album. So check it out. Focused on the work that the fourth artist I want to spotlight is the Districts, which I listened to last week. I listened to their first album, Telephone, and just really liked the whole album. And I went and listened to all the rest of their albums, and they're all great. From A Flourish and A Spoil, I like the song Young Blood. I'm picking like a song from each album that I liked. Popular Manipulations, I like the song Airplane. The song Airplane like has a really interesting guitar, like a guitar lick that I just don't feel like I've heard many other places. But it's like I don't know, it gives it like kind of a dark sound, and the vocals follow the tune, the melody of the guitar at parts. I'll have to play a clip of that because I can't really describe it. And the album You Know I'm Not Going Anywhere is another like just really beautiful, relaxing album. It's got more of a summery sound to me, at least. But one of the songs, the last song on the album, called 4th of July, is just absolutely beautiful. And I listened to this on Wednesday when I was sitting by the fire, and this song played like at the end of the night when the fire sort of died down and the sun had set, and it was like, just listen to this song, and it's got these like whistles in it that just have like a really, just like kind of a bittersweet sound, because it's like, it sounds like happy and pleasant, but it also has like almost like a sad, like I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it just like really like hit me on Wednesday when I was listening to it for the first time, and it like just hearing those whistles, that whistle tune, and just having enjoyed the evening sitting by the fire, and I don't know, it just, yeah, it really hit me, and it was like a really powerful song to end the night with. So I'm happy to share that one with you listeners. On Friday, June 7th, the French Cassettes released a new album called Benzene. French Cassettes was one of the artists I discovered last week, and I listened to their whole album on Friday, and it's interesting. It's almost like two separate albums in one, because it's the first like 5 tracks were just okay. I didn't really get into them. I kind of was tempted to skip most of them, but I listened to them and I wasn't feeling it. I was worried that like I wasn't gonna have a 5th artist to talk about, But when you get to the track, When You Know, it kind of starts to get a little bit better. But the track that first like really grabbed me was Normal Day, so the third to last song. That one just was like came out of nowhere. Like, it was a totally different style, and I really enjoyed it. There's a part where I feel like the song is about like a guy who's like sick of the like routine and just same old of everyday life, and so he's trying to shake things up a bit, but it's like not working out. So he just like kind of just kind of like yells in frustration, and it just comes out of nowhere and like surprised me a bit when he first did it. But then like it kind of sounds cool in a way, and it gives the track kind of a personality, so I like it a lot. And yeah, I would recommend checking that song out. The next song on the album is called Finally, and that one also sounds pretty cool. It's got like a slow, smooth, like soulful sound. Like, I want to say almost kind of R&B-ish, but like more like soul. I don't know, you'll have to listen to it. It's like, it gave me kind of Leon Bridges vibes a little bit. Maybe not full-on Leon Bridges, but a little bit. I would just listen to it and see for yourself. And then the last song on that album is called Up To You, with the number 2 in the middle. It's also really good. There's a part in the middle where like the guitars kind of get heavy and distorted, and it's like a little heavy like breakdown section, and I liked that. That also surprised me when I first heard it. But yeah, just really interesting album, and probably just start with the second half of the album. You can listen to the whole album, obviously. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I just didn't really care for the beginning of it. But the last 3 songs are great. So I have some bonus recommendations here, just like a few songs that I don't have much to say about, but I would recommend listening to. One is called Didn't I by Los Stellarians. It's kind of like a funky almost like a sort of disco-y sound to it. And the next song is Won't Be Coming Back by The Dip. It's also pretty funky, soulful. Yeah, I'll probably be checking out more of their stuff. It's instrumental, I believe, so no lyrics, but yeah, just a nice little instrumental track. And then the last song I'm going to recommend is called We're All Gonna Die by Dawes. And I've actually listened to Dawes before, and probably even listened to this song before, but it just, I guess it didn't stick with me the first time, but my second time listening to it, I really liked it. Okay, that went quicker than I thought it would. I guess I'll talk about my ideas for the podcast, and I don't know if this is not set in stone necessarily, so I don't know if I'm gonna absolutely go with this theme for the podcast, but I like talking about music, and I like sharing recommendations and stuff. And again, I definitely welcome anyone who's listening, comment and share with me your recommendations for songs I should listen to, because I just absolutely love listening to new music. But yeah, I have kind of some ideas for future episodes. Next week, my friend Mike agreed to be like a guest on the podcast, and we're going to do kind of a spring wrap-up episode where we'll just talk about our sort of favorite songs of the spring. And I want to do that at the end of every season. So like I'll do a summer wrap-up and a fall wrap-up, winter wrap-up, all that good stuff. But then I have some ideas for during the season as well. Like, I think every so often I want to do a guest episode and just have, a friend on the episode and just share with each other our recommendations for music and stuff. Also, every season I'm planning on having one metal week, because metal is a genre that I also tend to get into, but I know not everybody does, so like I don't feel like throwing it in amongst the other music I listen to. Even when I put my playlists together, I have a separate playlist for metal and a separate playlist for all the other music I listen to, because I feel like I have to be in the mood for listening to metal, and I don't always want to listen to a slow peaceful song and then immediately afterwards like a screaming metal song. So I tend to separate those out, so I figured I'd do a separate episode just for my metal recommendations. And since there are some holidays, and certain holidays have holiday music, I plan on having like a Christmas week and a spooky week for Halloween. Obviously, spooky week will take place in the fall, Christmas week will take place in the winter. But I wanted to also have like a special week during the spring and the summer. And there isn't really music specific to anything in the spring or in the summer. So my idea is for the spring, I'm going to have like worship week, where like around Easter I'll talk about some worship music that I listen to, because I don't really listen to a lot of worship music, but every once in a while I'll find a song that is pretty good. So I think having a dedicated week for worship music will be a good way to share some of those songs. But then during the summer, I just genuinely couldn't come up with any ideas. But since my family is going on vacation and my sister and I are going on a road trip in September, we're driving down to Florida, to Universal Studios. I figured we'll just do like a road trip jams episode where we talk about songs that we like to listen to on the road. Oh, and I also want to have like one episode each season where I talk about my music, because I have in the past, I've made music of my own. I don't know if I'll do it every season. I might just do once a year or once or twice a year. We'll see. But I figure, I would like to share some of my music, because I don't make music much anymore, but back in the day I made a lot of music, and it's fun to share it sometimes. So I guess I'll wrap it up and just say thanks for listening. If you go down to the description, I'll share a link to a Spotify playlist with all the songs that I recommended on here, so you don't have to like write down all the songs and look them up yourself. You can just go straight to my Spotify playlist and listen to all the songs that I recommended you listen to. So go ahead and do that and chill out and vibe, and we'll see you next time.